Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Prowess Live. I am super excited about today's show because I get to interview someone. I am Leah Steinkirch, Prowess Project COO. If you don't know me, thank you so much for joining us today. And like I mentioned, we're going to be talking to a real live OBM out there in the wild, making her financial dreams come true. So I've had the privilege of knowing this person for a long time, so I'm super excited for all of you guys to meet her. We are going to get going as we always do with our question that we get started off with. So as people are coming in, drop into chat. I want to hear, what is that one operational task that all of you guys love? Like, it's the thing that you love that not everybody else does. And when you get to do it, it's like Christmas and you lose time and it just becomes fun. So throw those into chat and we'll be checking Facebook too for those answers. And I can share for mine. Right now, we're in the middle of like a migration with softwares. And so I get to build workflows and update pages and create all these triggers and tags. And that's where I just have too much fun. Like it's 10 o'clock at night and I don't even realize it. So question to get started today is what is that one operational thing that you do that you love? Not everybody else does, but it's that thing that you really love about your job as an operations person. All right. And as I mentioned, I'm Leah with Prowess Project. And if you don't know Prowess Project, what we do is we have an online platform to train online business managers that are looking for their career to have flexibility and make the money that they want. And then we help, once they've finished our OBM University, match them up with employers who are looking for their next right-hand person. So process and workflows. Yes, exactly. Whenever I get to just set up workflows, like I said, it's just a ton of fun. And the person that we're interviewing today, I can share that she is someone who I've worked with in the past when it comes to all of this. And I love that side of the OBM brain that we're always thinking of the what's next. And so our guest today, Linda, is an online business manager that's been out there making her financial goals, hitting that six-figure mark. And what I love about Linda and what I'm so excited for you guys to get to know about her today is that she has that ability to take a look at the processes, but from that, I've never met someone who has so much empathy when they're looking at the processes that they're going to be setting up for their client. And so empathy is something I always see her put in the forefront, but then she also has that amazing ability to have the boundaries for herself, which is when you can have those two things as an OBM is when the fun really happens. So here is Linda. We'll go ahead and get started. Linda.
Hi, so good to see you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Like I said, I'm super excited for other people to hear your story and get to learn from you. What is your one thing that you do?
Oh, it's process and workflows for me too. I love looking at the big picture and then making the puzzle pieces fit together and making people's lives easier. So I always tell everyone I work with, like, I love to make your life easier and I love to then tweak things too. So it's not just about like putting a process in place once, but then like tweaking it and innovating on it as you go.
Oh, I love that. And I have heard you use that phrase, like to make your life easier. Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. As we go through this today, guys, anybody throw some questions in chat. We will get to those. Continue to put those, what you love doing in your operations world in there, so as we get to know you guys, we can answer more questions, because I think it's so powerful to hear someone who has gone through this path, through this journey. Like I mentioned, Linda has an amazing background. I've had the privilege of knowing her for quite some time. But Linda, do you want to share kind of your patchwork quilt and how you got to be an online business manager?
Yeah, it's a story. Where do I start? I feel like for the most part, my professional career started back in retail. So when I was in high school, I was working retail and climbed up into management. So like team leadership and things like that, like while I was in high school. And throughout college, I worked full time in retail management. I really understood like how business works, business acumen, understanding sales, customer service, working with different team members. And it was really all about the team when I was there. Worked in multiple departments. So I really always had this curiosity to learn and take in information from everywhere and be able to then adapt. So from retail, I actually was invited into corporate councils. So I worked for a really big retail name and ended up getting to know the corporate team members too, which was super enlightening. And I think that's where project management really started for me because I was essentially on corporate project management teams where I was like a liaison between retail and corporate, and like, what did we need to do on a larger scale, on a larger basis. And those were really cool years that I was involved with the corporate teams. From there, I was recruited into education management. So education is still very important to me, and understanding numbers and goals and KPIs in a different way, and being able to work with students and having, student goals. I worked in career services and managed a career services department. So really got to know like the ins and outs of hiring and how to spot really good employees and how to coach and train people to be those good interviewers. And a lot of team management there too. So, and then working as a whole system within the universities and colleges that I was working with. Also got to network with community partners that would hire the students that we were working with. So lots of skills gained there that continue to progress throughout my career. I also ended up in veterinary management. So took all of my management and people management, and by that time, a lot of process management and numbers management into the world of veterinary, which animals are huge to me. So that was an awesome opportunity to learn. I learned so much that I still use, of course, with my own animals now. And a lot of empathy comes from there as well. So you have to be, safe and aware of not only your people that you're working with, but the animals that you're working with. So sometimes, realizing you have to slow down or lots of awareness. So that was a lot of fun. And I also ended up then with Prowess. So thanks to project management certifications and learning from Prowess from forever ago, really gained additional skills in a more virtual online type world. So gained a lot more project management and ended up in marketing. So I worked for a couple marketing agencies that really gave me that other piece of information that I really wanted to then branch out on my own. Because by this time I realized that I like to work a little bit different than the 9 to 5. But I had a lot of skills that translated into a lot of different areas, and I could learn things quickly. So that's when I really dove into OBM and business management, because I knew that I could manage people, processes, animals even, but really I could learn and grow with flexible environments was really what I was looking for. So I now really enjoy working for startups and really small businesses.
Oh my goodness. I love all of that, because again, it is the true patchwork quilt. But one thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, that I'm hearing is like in each of these, like, yes, you were kind of led to a different industry, different person or animal that you're serving, right? But you were learning about yourself.
Yeah. Oh, so much. So much. Oh, the emotional intelligence I've gained and the things that you learn from interacting with different types of people. I mean, people of all ages, whether they were younger than me or older than me or my age, across the spectrum of different kinds of people, which is amazing to me and something that I really value, as well as working with different types of personalities, from veterinarians to students. And you learn so much about how you are a part of the world and how you can impact the world, but really about the whole systems that are around you and the people that you can learn from and gain knowledge and experience from. And there's just so much to learn from people that I think all of those different situations helped me really niche down into small businesses where I could be super flexible and adaptive and take all of that experience and think about like, hey, what if we try this or what if we do that? So yeah, I've constantly learned about myself because I'm curious about the world.
Oh, so tell me about that. Like, how did this help you get to where you're like, it's small businesses that I love to work with? And then is there does your niche go a little bit further than just a small business?
At the moment, I really like working with a certain kind of person, I guess. It's that non-traditional, don't put me in a box kind of place is where I thrive. So I love working with people that are more open and more flexible and more even ambiguous. Seems to work well with me. I like to be able to wear multiple hats and really use more of my skills. In the marketing agency, I remember being asked like, well, do you want to work project management or do you want to work operations? And I was like, well, both. So for me, I think I really started realizing that I thrive when I'm not in a rigid space, and I'm not in a micromanaged space, and I'm not forced to do one thing or the other, where people value me because I can offer a lot and they hear me. So yeah, I like working with open-minded people, and where all my skills are valued because I can really like help the whole environment.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I like how you said that, like the don't put me in the box, like type of personality, because again, like, so guys out there, anyone who's like, I don't really know what my niche, like identifying that person that you want to work with. And I'm sure that you identified some types that you didn't want to work with, but that's 100%. A great way to describe it, because I think your potential clients can see themselves in that, or they don't, right? They'll be like, well, that's not really me. So I love that. And then, if you don't mind talking about this too, because I know that this is, you've described a lot of your corporate journey and all of that. Mm-hmm. And guys, again, feel free to throw any questions that you have, for Linda or for me, or just this, it is that path and that journey and where you got to where you are. But there was a lot of like lifestyle, right? Like you also have a very robust, your patchwork quilt extends into who you are as a human out into the world, right? You mentioned the animals, but I know you have other things that schedules and way you want to live your life and travel. Yeah. So how do you keep balancing that and then helping build your OBM business with those goals in mind also?
Yeah, definitely. So for me, emotional KPIs are life. Of course, I'm driven by money and I need to support myself, and I have financial goals because I know that I'm worth a lot. I've done a lot of good work on like asking for what I'm worth and making sure that my value is seen. But at the end of the day, like how I feel as a human is really important to me. As someone that's, in mid to late 30s, I grew up, I grew up with all the pressure, of the typical millennials. And I think a lot of people that are just feeling burnt out right now can maybe understand, like, holy cow, did I deal with burnout that led to depression, that led to anxiety, that led to weight gain, that led to a back injury, like just so much like all life was work, where I decided I knew that something in my heart was craving something different. Like life is supposed to be different than this. And I started hearing little whispers and little pieces of my community telling me that you don't have to work like that. You don't have to do things the way society tells you to do. You don't have to do the 9 to 5, or really it's 8 to 6 in most cases, or even the commute most of the time. Like there's some of those put you in a box type situations just weren't for me. And I realized that I can do better and work better if I wasn't in that like structured, like overly structured environment. So I started really setting goals around like, I don't want to work 40, 50 hours forever. I did it while I paid off debt so that I can be more free, because financial freedom is really important to me, so that I can take different types of jobs and I can take the risk of working, more part-time versus full-time. But I knew that I wanted to travel. I knew that I wanted to spend time with my dog, to spend time with my friends, to spend time actually getting rest and sleep, and focusing on mental health. And beach volleyball is now my biggest thing since I live in Florida. And I want to have that time where I'm living, and not just working, because I realized when I was burnt out, like there wasn't anything, like I couldn't have been a good friend. I know I wasn't a great friend. I couldn't be a good dog mom. I couldn't be the greatest employee. I couldn't be the best leader. There were things that I just couldn't do because I was becoming more and more tired and exhausted and fatigued. So my brain power wasn't even there. So the more I sought out the network and Prowess and just these different people, it starts snowballing, where you suddenly have this network and you have this support system that tells you that you can do things differently. And that's what's really important to me. And I've leaned into that. And now I live a life that I really enjoy. I don't work 9 to 5. I don't know really how to describe my hours right now, but I work when I need to work. I get things taken care of. I like time blocking. I like being able to switch between a couple different clients, or, I have 3 different clients right now. And I really enjoy fitting work into my life rather than only working and then dealing with whatever other time I could, basically exhausted and worn out.
Oh, thank you for sharing all of that, because I think you hit on some very important things with the burnout and what that does to our mental health, and then all the other things that we set to the side because we're trying to meet a paradigm that we've been handed, right? Instead of making choices for ourselves. So I think taking that step back is so important. But a question that I think will probably be in a lot of people's minds is, you come across very confident in all of this. Was it always that way, or was
God,
there
no.
a transition?
No, it's been a journey. Holy cow. When did I start even all of this? We're in 2024. I probably started around 2018, 2019. Does that sound right, Leah? Yeah. And that was, yeah. And that was where like, this was just like this glimmer of like, I know I need to do something different. And I really liked learning. So I started learning more about formal project management. Like I was a project manager. I just didn't know it formally. So started diving into these different connections and communities, and Prowess was huge for that, and understanding that there's a support system out there. So it was little bits and pieces at a time. And this is actually my second run of working, for myself, full time. The first time I did it I was tired of a really bad situation, and they showed their true colors during COVID. And I just took the risk and had paid off debt and worked really hard and did some hard math to see how I can live a bit more frugally, and was scared. I was scared shitless, but I took the risk and started out, more in that unstructured world and that 1099 world, and kind of bounced around a little bit and really continued to gain my skills and work with people that lifted me up and that supported my different mindset and my lifestyle shift that I wanted, and that's gotten me where I'm at. But even now, I would say I've been full-time doing this for a bit, and I would say it took 4 to 6 months to get out of hustle culture and to feel like I wasn't still burnt out. Like still not having, I had to sleep so much, or I was exhausted, or I wasn't really being able to focus. And it took a lot of time to kind of reset my life. And it took a lot of tears and a lot of fear and just putting myself out there, but knowing that you have people behind you like you, and Ashley, has really built up my confidence.
That's awesome, because your confidence is very well deserved, Linda. So you said about 3 or 4 months, right, to like make that switch and get out of the hustle culture. Is there any advice you would give people who are in that transition, like the letting go a little bit, because it is so like ingrained in a lot of us, like this message of that's what work is supposed to look like.
Yes.
And now when we have flexibility, I'll admit that, like sometimes it feels hard, like you have flexibility and you're like, but I should be checking in. They should know that I'm present.
Yeah.
How did you make that switch?
Oh man, it is leaning into your people. Definitely, I'm a pretty open book, and I can be pretty vulnerable. And I'm fortunate enough to have friends that understand that, and have people like Prowess Project and other communities that I'm a part of, that challenge the status quo. I also had, therapy, and I had to be told that I don't give myself enough credit, and I have to keep repeating that and working through that in my head. But I've had to go through mindfulness. I've had to increase exercise in my life and increase water intake, like just all those healthy things. Like for me, I had to do bits and pieces at a time and not put it all on myself at once, because that's how you burn out. And that's what I was used to. So it's really breaking habits and being proud and excited about the future, even if there's fear, because this is what I really wanted, and it takes steps. It's not a linear progress. So having a system of support, whether it was my therapist, my friends, volleyball and coaches, and people that I had that could lift me up, and then showing myself like, no, here's the numbers, here's what you're doing, like here are the opportunities, and knowing that this is part of who I am. I've gotten here for a reason, and I should trust myself. And by trusting myself, I was able to invest in myself and invest in the resources and the learning and the certifications, and continuing to evolve my network and focus my energy on what feels good, and start letting go of things energy wise that didn't feel good. So it's definitely a process and a journey.
Oh, I love that, which I think is just true for like any improvement we want to make in our life, right? We've got to trust that we deserve it. That is fantastic. And you mentioned you have about 3 clients right now.
Yeah.
So what does your day-to-day look like currently with those 3 clients, and you're meeting your financial goals and your emotional KPIs? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, definitely. So yes, I have 3 clients right now. They're all of different size and different commitment levels, which I love. And I've actually been with all of them for a good amount of time. And I know, like, my bigger client is the one that might have more calls that need to be handled during the 9 to 5. So I kind of worked my schedule essentially around them, along with a standing meeting with my second client. My third client, we check in weekly, and we have systems set up to keep us up to date. So of course, I've I monitor those systems. I integrated a lot of systems to make our lives easier. We talk about communication and what we need from each other really upfront, so that we can set those expectations, and I know I can feel good in the work that I'm doing and when I'm doing it. So I really do a lot of time blocking. So I know that, I have this call with this client and I'm going to get things done before and after that client call that are probably related to that client, or I'm looking at my priority list and what is most important and scheduling that stuff earlier. So very aware of my time, but also very aware of when I can schedule rest and when I can schedule volleyball and when I can schedule nothing, or when I can keep up on just admin type stuff. So I often work, I don't start at 9 a.m. like hardly ever. And that's been really good for me, is to have a slower morning and more routine based morning. I don't like the word discipline because it's too harsh, but routines and like slow movement is really good for me in the morning because I am not a morning person. But I do work really well late morning and afternoon. And I tend to work well on admin type tasks that don't affect anybody later at night. So if I don't have volleyball, I tend to work Tuesdays and Thursdays a little bit later at night too. And I take a break or take it easy during the day. So I'm time blocking and realizing like when I can fit in most important things. And sometimes that's not always work tasks. So sometimes our important things are, time with friends or, walking the dog or playing volleyball or whatever it might be. Those are really important pieces of my schedule.
So what I'm hearing is that time blocking is also key for the personal side of things, right?
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Which I think we forget that. I forget that, like to block that stuff out, or I'll notice I have put it on my calendar and then I schedule 3 things over it, right? So we have to like honor that part of it as well for like what you said, not to burn out.
Yeah, because it's all a system. If I don't take care of myself and I don't take care of my things personally, I'm distracted and I'm not as sharp when I'm working. So I know I feel really good when I am accomplished and like on point with work and, making an impact with work. And that keeps me motivated to keep things up to par on a personal basis. So I feel like they're both tied in, and I like the opportunity to be able to balance work and life and make sure that they both feel good together.
I love that. And I think that's so important, is like, because it's true that I think as online business managers, we get a lot of joy out of seeing our systems help someone else succeed. But if we're burned out, we can't do that.
100%.
So guys, if you have other questions, please throw those in the chat for Linda. I'm sure you're curious too. I mean, a lot of that, like, what does it look like? That sort of stuff, whatever you guys want to ask, let us know. But I am curious, as part of your like favorite things that you do for clients, like what have you brought into kept from your huge patchwork quilt? What are the parts that you're like, when I get to do this for client, this is fun, and you've kind of built your business around that?
Yeah, I would say solving problems and like finding solutions. So oftentimes I find that small companies, especially, they're really good at what they're really good at. Like they have their zone of genius, and they want to do that stuff, and they may not always have time for the process stuff and the background stuff and, the system stuff. And that's what I really like to bring to the table is, some of the things that I've experienced is, uncovering, this person doesn't know how to ask for help and just kind of deals with stuff and doesn't have any systems to support her, and the process is lacking or it hasn't been refreshed in forever, and I come in there and I'm that person that can actually spend time on that and relieve some of those obstacles and relieve some of those pain points for her to be able to do her job better. And then she feels better. I feel better. I can tweak these workflows. And I feel accomplished because then they can do their zone of genius because of my zone of genius.
Love it. Okay, so we have one question here. How many clients did you go through to be able to earn 6 figures, and how long did it take?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say I've gone through, so I've had like 3 or 4 clients. Hang on, I gotta keep thinking. I would say about 4 clients that I don't work with anymore. And it's been about 2 to 2.5, maybe 3 years total.
Okay. When did you, out of curiosity, like kind of get to a point where you're like, all right, you might not have been at 6 figures yet, but how long into that, like leaving corporate were you, or did you, I actually don't know the answer to this. Were you at corporate and you got to a point where you're like, now I can leave and be comfortable?
Yes.
Or what did that look like?
Yeah. So I did OBM and PM stuff on the side as like a side hustle. Cause, I think COVID showed us a lot about who we can trust and who we can't trust. So I was doing a lot of that stuff on the side for myself. So that's where I would say I spent probably 2 years in and out of it. Like I was in it for a little bit full time, but really doing it part time to build myself up. And I would say when I dove into it, like for real full time, it only took maybe 6 months or so to get to the 6-figure point.
Gotcha. And you've been pretty much out on your own for like a little bit this year or year and a half? Okay.
Yeah, at least a year. Yeah, probably a year and a half-ish.
Yeah. It's funny because I've known Linda for a while and it feels like 5 minutes. So the years blur together. Okay. Reading these questions. I love the problem solving, but do you know, how do you show that as an offer or a package? That's a great question. And then how do you market that? So I'll rephrase that question. Problem solving is what you love to do, but how do you then tell someone that's what you're really good at? And then what does that kind of package or offer look like to them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a really great case study that talks about what I was able to accomplish in the first 3 months of working with someone. And really it was when you're talking to someone that knows that they need help, it's finding their pain points and then specifically working towards those pain points and checking in on those pain points until things are solved. So that is like the actual systems that are put in place, that like the improved efficiency of meetings, the improved feeling of organization, and really also helping my clients just not feel alone in their decisions. So as much as I have emotional KPIs, my clients have emotional KPIs, and you feel when things run smoother and you're able to see where things are more efficient. And of course, you're looking at costs. So, you know, whether I'm diving into QuickBooks or cost of contractors or whatever it is, we're constantly looking at, what are we forecasting towards revenue, and also where's the profit? So are we building a system that's expensive and not scalable, or are we building something on free HubSpot right now because that's what's going to work, and we're going to make sure it's working for us, and we have this sales pipeline and we have all these things set up that we can track, and so all about data where we can on top of emotional KPIs.
I love that. So guys, you heard that case study. That's huge as whether that's lead generation or just something you can help yourself formulate your offer is putting it together in a case study, because your clients will understand that. And then what they see is, wow, you could help me create a case study for my business. Yeah. So I love that.
Yep.
And then I'm curious, the emotional KPIs, is that something that you start digging into in like your onboarding process, or how do you figure that out with your clients?
Yeah, I ask them things like, how do you imagine the next 6 months going? Where do you want to be in a year? And I challenge them to tell me, what does that look like, feel like, sound like? And I want to get to know them as a human. So as much as I care about my lifestyle, I want to make sure that their lifestyle aligns with what we're working towards. So yeah, they want to hear that things are more organized. When they're super busy, they want to know that things are still running in the background. So those are things that we talk about right up front. I want to know what does success feel like for you? What does it look like? What are the data points? But really, what can you do with your time? What do you plan on doing with your time? What is your vision for growth? Those types of questions are all really important to me in onboarding and starting out.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I encourage all of you OBMs to rewind that and listen to that, because when you know that in your onboarding, and you can go back every 30 days and look at it and say, am I hitting this? Like, you're building your own case study right there from the very first meeting, because you've gotten it out of them. And I always preach this. You guys have heard me say it 100 times. You get to sleep better at night because you know that you're meeting what they told you is their goal, right? And especially from that emotional KPI standpoint, Linda, I'm going to borrow that all the time now, is that's really where they know they feel like they're winning, is when that feeling, and they're sleeping better at night. So,
and that's what helped me like calm down and realize like, nope, I don't have to start at 9 and I don't have to work till 5. Like, no, I'm doing the things that they care about gets done. And like, we committed and we talked through that together. Because it's not just busy work. It's not just sitting at a desk 9 to 5. Like, we're working towards her specific goals together. So that helped a lot with my own burnout.
Oh, I love that. Okay, this next question, I know that you're going to love to talk about this one. How have you planned for retirement without the backing of a corporate job? Because financial independence is also important to this person too.
Love that. Yes, women, please look at your numbers. Please own your math, your finances. It's so huge, no matter what situation you're in. Yeah, that's really, really big to me. So I've mentioned a couple of times that I worked really hard to pay down debt anywhere I possibly could. That was really important to me so that I knew I could live more freely and take the risk of working on my own, because I don't have a partner. So it's just me flying solo. So there are so many places to learn more about that and to set yourself up for the future. But I recommend women's personal finance groups and just connecting with people that care about it. But there are health insurance. There's ways of getting health insurance without a company benefit plan. So I have private insurance right now, so that protects me on that front. And my tax person is fantastic. So we're always talking about, tax advantages and deductions and things like that. So making sure I'm keeping track of like what's business write-offs and things like that. I contribute to my IRA. And then I hopefully this year should be setting up a SEP 401k, I think is the one, where I can contribute even more. So you don't need a 401k from a business to contribute to your retirement. There are so many different other ways of doing it, but especially your IRA. So look into that. There's spousal IRAs as well as personal IRAs that you can contribute to every single year.
Thank you for sharing that, because I know you are very well versed in that topic. And one thing that I do know about Linda is that you research it. Like you get out there, you talk to people, you've done your homework in that area, and you're always looking for what else can I learn. So I think that's super important as online business managers, just like you would do for your client, do this for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly.
Thank you for sharing that, Linda. Another question here. Did you get any additional certificates or accreditations to make yourself more valuable to your clients?
Yeah, that's a great one. I am PMP certified for project management. So that helps, especially with one of my clients that's a little bit more project management based, but needs operations as well. So I feel like when you really understand project management, that helps you understand workflows and really how to get things done. And fortunately, the PMP world cares about emotional intelligence as well a bit. So you learn some of those leadership skills and grow some of those, stakeholder management skills that are important.
How did you decide which certificates you wanted or certifications you wanted to go get? Because there is a ton out there. So how did you make that decision?
Yeah, that's a good one. I do still really like to be in the weeds of project management, and working in the marketing agency. It's really easy to correlate PMP with some of the work that you're doing. So that really helped me at that point in time. In the beginning, getting the Prowess certification back in the day for project management was like a no-brainer. It was, we've got to work towards this system and understand how to get things done and how to be that resource for people. Yeah, so that was one to grow off of for sure. And then the OBM certification became a no-brainer as well, because the world is all online right now. And for me, as someone who likes to look for the different ways of making money and the different ways of supporting, helping online business CEOs and founders is exactly where I'm supposed to be.
And out of curiosity, have you done any other ones just for like specific technologies or anything?
Yeah, HubSpot is a big one. There's some other trainings I've done on LinkedIn, but yeah, HubSpot offers free certification classes and things like that too. So there's definitely a lot of options out there.
Yeah, I always encourage people to go look at your favorite technologies. Like Canva has a university, HubSpot has a lot of free training. Kajabi has like they all have their own thing. You can pay to get like their actual full certification if you want. A lot of them are free. But again, if you are passionate and you love that area, if it is something that you just, again, you're losing time and hours, then go for it, because that's only then going to help you attract more clients that are looking for you to have those skills. So there's a ton of options out there, and they're not always with a price tag. So, Linda, this half an hour has flown by. Anything else that you would want to leave this group with?
Just believing in yourself and believing in your dreams. If you can think about it and ponder about it and dream about it, like you can make it happen. And having a network like Prowess and growing that network is really key. Continue to surround yourself with people that also look for other options and look for different ways. Like no one has to be put in a box anymore. We have so many resources. We just got to look for them and tap into them. So if you're a curious learner, which you probably are, if you're here, like keep leaning into that. That's probably one of your biggest skills.
Yes. And there are CEOs out there who that's what they need. Someone who can go do all the learning so that they can continue on yellow brick road. So
Yep.
Linda, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. If you guys have more questions, feel free so you can pop those into the free Facebook group. We do have a online training coming up. You can find that on the link there on Facebook. And again, find us on all the social channels. Like Linda's saying, community is important. So that's why we want to have those resources for you. And we will talk to you guys again next week. Thank you, everyone.